Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown of Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull. It is officially the first game week Monday of the 2024 season. So we'll be taking a look at UT Chattanooga's offense today. As always, y'all, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you would like to join us this Saturday, we're going to be going live pre and post game. You can join us by clicking on the link down in the description below, right next to live stream sign up. Okay, y'all, make sure that y'all do that. You have until Thursday at 8 p.m. to get signed up. The spots are limited. Let's go ahead and jump into the video. All right, so this is UT Chattanooga's offensive numbers from last season. Their total offense averaged 384.5 yards per game. They averaged 5.81 yards per attempt and 27.5 points per game. And then their passing numbers, they had 245.3 yards per game, 8.3 yards per attempt, 1.69 touchdowns per game, and about an interception a game. Okay, it's a little bit under that, but it is close to it. And I mean, obviously, with them playing in D1 AA is completely and totally different. I think that in this game, like not to, bury the lead right here, but I think that we will have some turnovers in this game, especially talking about interceptions. Now, as far as their rushing numbers, they average 139.2 yards per game, 3.8 yards per attempt, 1.23 touchdowns per game on the ground. And then they gave up about 1.3 sacks per game. All right, now let's take a look at the key players for UT Chattanooga's offense. We will begin with Chase Artapis. He will be the starting quarterback for the Mocs, listed at 6'2", 208 pounds, and he's number 9 on their roster. Says that he's a senior. He spent 4 seasons at UCLA. He was a graduate transfer, I believe, last season to Chattanooga, where he started 10 games, and his numbers look pretty good. Okay, he had 2,672 yards through the air, 20 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, and he was completing passes at a rate of 62.8%. I think that he does a really good job of just operating their offense. He's not necessarily a game breaker, but if someone's open, he will hit him. He's very accurate. He gets the ball out of his hands very quickly, and he can also move around. Now, he's not super fast or anything like that, but he is a mobile quarterback. So whether it's just operating inside of the pocket or if it is, on some maybe like designer quarterback runs, we're talking about zone reads, things like that. I mean, he can get you, 4 or 5 yards. He can even get you more than that. I think more so versus, D1 AA competition. I don't know how well he's going to be able to run versus our defense, but, I think that he's going to be a really good test for Grayson McCall, who we will see versus NC State. That's going to be their starting quarterback. So, I think that we'll be able to kind of teach to some points about how to, make sure that we're playing discipline. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we get, into their scheme, things like that. Now, the next key player is going to be the backup quarterback, and his name is Luke Schomburg. He's listed at 6'3", 194 pounds. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's number 17 on their roster. Now, he started the final 3 games of their season last year, and his first start came versus Alabama, so his numbers aren't going to look great. And then after that, I believe the final 2 games were in, playoff games. So he looked really good versus Austin Peay, though. I can tell y'all that. So his numbers were 517 yards through the air, only 2 touchdowns with 3 interceptions, only completing passes at a rate of 52.4%. But I actually think, honestly speaking, that he is the better of these 2 quarterbacks. Again, his numbers aren't going to wow you right here just because I feel like he went up against some better competition. And just to kind of go back to Chase Artapis, he went down with some sort of a shoulder injury. I don't know if that's, out there anywhere. I tried to do some research to find exactly what the shoulder injury was, but all that I could find out is that he had a shoulder injury. He should be ready to rock and roll for this game. But I feel like we will see both of these quarterbacks, especially as the game wears on. And that's good news for us because we want to get challenged. He's another one that I feel like is very similar to Chase in that he's going to be accurate. He's going to get the football out of his hands quickly, and he can also kind of move around if he has to. Now, I don't think that he is as mobile as Chase is, but it should be a pretty good test for, the second, third, fourth string guys that will probably be in the game whenever he does get into the game as well. So the next player is going to be running back Reggie Davis, listed at 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. He is a junior. He's number 3 on their roster. He was number like 26 or 36 or something like that last season. Now, he was their most explosive running back, averaging 5 yards per carry, which was the highest yards per carry average on their team. So he had 65 carries for 322 yards. I don't think he had any touchdowns. I also saw him catch the football out of the backfield a few times. They don't really throw the ball to their backs out of the backfield very, very much, if at all. But they have a few things that they like to do that they're really good at. I think that they run their schemes well, but in my opinion, he fits what they like to do better than any of the other running backs that I saw from last season. So, he does run tough. He's going to run hard. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem for us in this game coming up on Saturday, but we do have to wrap up. We'll talk about that kind of going through these wide receivers as well. You got to wrap these guys up. You actually have to tackle them. You can't just go up there and smack them and think that they're going to go down. Okay. They are very well coached and they play very hard at every single level on their offense and defense. But the next player is going to be wide receiver Javen Watley, and he is 5'10", 167 pounds. He's a junior. He's number 6 on their roster. Last season, he had 55 catches for 977 yards, 17.8 yards per catch. I think that is amazing, and 9 touchdowns. So he was, their most productive wide receiver, and they lined him up in some different spots from what I could see on film. But a lot of his catches seemed like they came from the middle, of the defense. Okay, so that's where I feel like they will be using him at the most. But again, you could see him kind of line up on the outside as well. He has good speed. Obviously, he's a smaller player, but like we just talked about with Reggie Davis, you got to tackle him. You got to wrap up because they play very strong. They have good balance, and they are going to play hard. I can promise you that. Now, the next player is going to be Sam Phillips, wide receiver. He's listed at 5'9", 185 pounds. He's also a junior. He's number 11 on their roster. Last season, he had 60 catches, good for 624 yards, 10.4 yards per catch, and 4 touchdowns. Now, I saw him used a lot, in that slot, but also, I saw him catching the ball very close to the line of scrimmage a ton. They're going to try to get the football out to their playmakers. Again, we'll talk about that some here in just a second, but they're going to try to get the football out to their playmakers and just kind of let them eat. Their offensive coordinator, he talked about that. He said, listen, I'm not some offensive genius or some offensive guru. I believe in getting the ball in my playmakers' hands and letting them eat. So I respect the heck out of that. It's been working for them. Again, they are very well coached, and I think they have a really good offensive scheme, especially for us to just try to have some teaching points to get ready for NC State. All right, now let's take a little bit of a closer look at their stats from ESPN last season, and y'all can see that their running back system, they have 4 backs, okay, but they're going to lean on the top 2 the most. That's what I'm taking away from the rushing numbers. Now on down here to the receiving, y'all can see that the tight end only had 13 catches. Okay, that was their leading tight end as far as receiving goes last season. So they barely, if ever, use their tight ends. It's going to be primarily a passing game that utilizes their wide receivers. So I think that it'll be a pretty easy one for us to game plan for as a defense. So now we have a good idea of who UT Chattanooga is from a numbers perspective, but let's talk a little bit more about their schemes. As far as the running game goes, we're going to see a ton of outside zones, RPOs. We'll see some zone reads, things like that, where the quarterback could keep it. That's primarily what they like to do. But I'll tell you, with that outside zone, I think that they do a really good job blocking that. That's probably their best run play out of anything that they do. I think they do a really nice job with the RPOs as well. But their offensive line, they're good. At least they were last season. And they are going to be returning 3 of their 5 starters from last season. So I would expect that it's going to be good again this year. And I would say even versus Alabama, they kind of held their own. Like, they got to their spots. So you could tell that they are very well coached and they are going to play hard. Something else that I love about UT Chattanooga is I don't see any signs of them playing dirty anywhere. That's going to be the biggest question mark for our team in this game is, can we stay healthy? Things like that. And it's just great to know that they're not a dirty team. It just looks like they're out there. They understand what's going on. That, they're going to do their best and that they're going to try to give us a very realistic look. Obviously, there's going to be a very big difference in the talent level, things like that. But they will kind of challenge us to play sound fundamental football, especially up front. So that, that outside zone play that we're just talking about, that's the play that Missouri killed us on last season. They just kept on running it over and over and over again, and we could never stop it. But obviously, that's going to start with our front 4. They've got to do a good job of just kind of like getting to their spots and, being strong at the point of contact, which, yes, here we should be able to do that pretty easily, especially with, our first 2 to 3 waves. But how does the 4th, 5th, and 6th waves look is going to be one of my questions. I'm watching that very closely. Can they make plays on their own? Can they disengage and make some stops in the backfield? Also, the linebackers have to do a really good job of flowing and just kind of shooting those gaps. I think that our linebackers will do a really nice job of that this season. Expect several tackles for a loss in those outside zone plays. Can we be disciplined whenever they're running those, zone reads, things like that? Okay. We talked about how the quarterbacks can run some. They are a little bit mobile. Don't think it's going to be a huge cause for a concern or a problem, with how athletic this defense is. But we have to see it out there. Okay. Like, I want to see it again, our front 7 making plays for sure. Now, as far as the passing end, we talked some about the RPO. So that's a run pass option. That talks about, obviously some of the run game and also some of the pass game. We're going to see a whole lot of passes, across the middle of the field. I would say 10 to 15 yards. from the line of scrimmage, but we'll also see a ton of passes, out wide to the flat area, which is going to be close to the line of scrimmage. I would say, about 5 to 7 yards from the line of scrimmage, we'll see the ball getting thrown out there a lot. Now, I don't know how often they will do it, just because our cornerbacks, especially our starters, are going to be good at jumping that coming up, and maybe a couple of pick sixes, things like that could happen early on in this game. But at the same time, we are going to have to tackle well in space. This is going to be a really good test for us because, like we talked about, NC State is going to run, very similar schemes. Okay, it's going to be a whole lot of the same stuff. I've also seen several mesh concepts, where you're going to see some wide receivers crossing and especially shallow. I've seen some levels concepts. I've also seen them run some slot phase. I mean, they will throw the ball outside of the numbers deep. I would say maybe 3 to 4 times every game. So we will get challenged from that perspective as well. But I fully expect for all of our players to step up to this challenge in week one. And we should look very dominant on defense. One of the questions is going to be, what's UT Chat going to do versus our pass rush? They also like to run screens. Now, screens usually work better when you're blitzing. I don't expect for us to get too exotic with the blitz package in week one versus UT Chattanooga. I think that we're going to see what our front four can do and just be very, very basic in our, coverages, things like that. I don't even know how much we're going to be running man-to-man coverage, because if you have some players that you think might be weak in man, you don't want to put that on film before you have to face NC State and then, on down the road, Oklahoma, et cetera, et cetera. So expect it to be a whole lot of cover two, cover three. But, with those screens and things, I've seen them run, I would say maybe 3 to 4 per game on average. So we will see some of that. How do we respond versus that? Does our defensive line understand what's going on? Can they make some plays? Can they get some turnovers? I could see that. I'm going to be very bold right now, okay? Week one prediction, okay? And of course, it is versus UT Chat, but I'm going to say that we get a turnover from the first, second, and third level in this game, and it could be several of them. I think that our defense will be very, very dominant. We just want to make sure that they're being fundamentally sound. Several players will get their opportunity to come out in this one and show and prove, hey, maybe you want to, like rotate us in, some more moving forward, coach. So that's what we're going to be looking forward to in this game. Again, this is all about staying healthy and being fundamentally sound and having those coaching points going into the NC State weekend. The only thing I feel like that would make this, matchup a little bit better, or, I guess perfect, would be is if this game was going to be on Thursday, like NC State's game will be versus Western Carolina, who is, on the exact same level as UT Chattanooga is. So they would, in theory, have some more time to game prep for us, but our game still doesn't start until Saturday. So you really can't do too much game prep for us, but they will have a little bit more time to rest and all that. So that's the only thing that I feel like would make this matchup a little bit better. Looking forward to seeing what our defense is going to do, y'all. Please let me know y'all's thoughts down in the comment section. As always, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. We'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.